This lecture is about alcohol metabolism, and effect of alcohol specifically on liver. So I will talk about how the liver can eliminate alcohol, and then how the alcohol will actually affect liver metabolism, specifically glycolysis, gluconeogenesis, and the detoxification reactions. And then I will end up with introducing the irreversible effects of alcohol on liver structure. Alcohol is a xenobiotic. Alcohol is not needed for our body. Alcohol needs to be eliminated. Very interestingly, our microbiota can produce alcohol, which can go to the circulation, and it is eliminated by the liver. But majorly what liver is doing is not just elimination, this very small amount of alcohol, but playing a very important role in when we drink alcohol, what should happen to that one so that we don't feel the consequences of alcohol consumption. So liver uses two enzymes. One is, and the other one is aldehyde dehydrogenase. Alcohol dehydrogenase is a cytosolic enzyme and turns ethanol into acetaldehyde. It's an oxidation reaction, and NADH is produced. Acetaldehyde needs to go to the mitochondria, and aldehyde dehydrogenase, a mitochondrial enzyme, will turn it to acetate. Acetate is absolutely harmless, and in this reaction also NADH is produced. So what do you need to remember about this system? Additionally, that it is eliminating alcohol, so it is important of a detoxification reaction. You need to remember that acetaldehyde is toxic. There are toxic products of acetaldehyde, and also acetaldehyde itself is hurting cells. You also need to remember that this is a cytosolic process. NADH is produced, and there are other reactions in the cytosol that produce NADH. For these reactions, alcohol dehydrogenase and other reactions that produce NADH, the reoxidation of NADH to NAD is crucial. So you may remember from glycolysis that when we produce NADH in the cytosol, NADH needs to be reoxidized, and it is reoxidized through the so-called shuttle systems. In liver, the malate oxaloacetate system, which is working heavily, here will reoxidize NADH to NAD and takes the electrons and protons and shuttles them to the mitochondria. So we are in the mitochondria, and we are also producing NADH. We also need to reoxidize that to NAD. Now, what is happening in the mitochondria? That NADH can join the terminal oxidation system and can produce energy for the cell. Acetate also can turn into acetyl coenzyme A within the mitochondria, can enter Krebs cycle, and then energy, a lot of ATP is produced. This is the explanation. The NADH energy, and the acetyl coenzyme A energy through the Krebs cycle and terminal oxidation, that alcohol has a high caloric value. Now, let's see what are the consequences in liver metabolism if alcohol is consumed. I called it a reversible reaction, but please remember everything is in moderation, and then it will be reversible, okay? So, alcohol dehydrogenase, acetaldehyde dehydrogenase produces NADH. The cytosolic shuttle system will help to reoxidize NADH to NAD, and the electron transport system in the mitochondria will help to reoxidize NADH to NAD. However, if we drink alcohol and we produce a lot of NADH, the shuttle will be saturated. If a lot of acetaldehyde is going to the mitochondria, the electron transport chain can be also saturated. So what is the consequence of the high NADH-NAD ratio in metabolism? So one is inhibiting glycolysis. You remember glucose, glycolysis, producing NADH. NADH needs to be reoxidized. If we are in the liver cell, then pyruvate needs to go to the mitochondria, and NADH will be reoxidized by the shuttle system. Now, what if the shuttle is overwhelmed, too much NADH? Then pyruvate will actually back up, inhibits glycolysis, and also pyruvate will be pushed toward lactate. So the consequence is reduced glycolysis, which reduces energy, and lactate production that can lead to lactic acidosis. In the meantime, it also stops gluconeogenesis. Of course it will. It is the reversal of glycolysis. And if pyruvate, which is coming in gluconeogenesis from different amino acids, is pushed to lactate, and then oxaloacetate, which needs to start gluconeogenesis, is pushed back to malate because we have too much NADH, gluconeogenesis will not go. So again, it may cause lactic acidosis, but it will also cause hypoglycemia. Now, let's see the fatty acid oxidation and synthesis system, which you will learn just a little bit later. So inhibits fatty acid oxidation. Why? Fatty acid is coming to the liver mitochondria when we are doing gluconeogenesis. Supplies the energy, you remember? Acetyl coenzyme A enters the Krebs cycle and NADH, FADH goes to the electron transport system. Now, when NADH is also coming in from the cytosol because of alcohol dehydrogenase and also produced by the aldehyde dehydrogenase, it can overwhelm the electron transport system, so it will inhibit fatty acid oxidation, again inhibiting glycolysis. Inhibiting fatty acid oxidation can lead to lack of energy and damage to the liver cells. One thing in alcoholic patients, what you will see, is the so-called fatty liver syndrome. Why is it happening? So you have the acetate coming in, which is the product of the aldehyde dehydrogenase, will go to acetyl coenzyme A. Krebs cycle is full, you don't need more, so acetyl coenzyme A cannot go anywhere else but fatty acid synthesis. Is it normal? No, it's not, especially not in an alcoholic liver. So fatty acids will form triglycerides and they will sit in the liver, in the tissue, in the cytosol, and it will also lead to damage to the liver. Now, this is basic metabolism. What you have just learned about drug removal and alcohol consumption actually is inhibiting a lot of sips, and it also inhibits glucuronidation of some of the byproducts that need to be eliminated, including bilirubin. Why? Because the UDP glucuronic acid synthesis also produces NADH. This is cytosolic. This NADH needs to go to the shuttles, and the shuttles, when they are saturated, they cannot take it. Thus, glucuronic acid will not be synthesized. Thus, certain drug removal will be halted, including bilirubin. So these were the so-called potentially reversible effect of alcohol on liver. So let's focus for a couple of minutes on irreversible effects. Now, I talked about this in the previous lecture. CYP2E1 is induced by alcohol. It uses NADPH, not NADH, so it cannot help to remove NADH from the cytosol, which was produced by alcohol dehydrogenase, and it also produces acetaldehyde. So what is the cytotoxic effect of the system? Alcohol and the CYP also contributing. Acetaldehyde is a direct toxin that can lead to cell death, liver cell death in situ, there where acetaldehyde is produced. It's a bigger problem when acetaldehyde is going back to the general circulation and affects especially the central nervous system and leads to cell death. But there will be also increased oxidative stress from the acetaldehyde action itself, the CYP2E1, which also can generate free radicals, the CYP2E1, which metabolizes acetaminophen to NAPQI, that's a cytotoxic effect also. And also alcohol can activate the resident macrophages in the liver, which will end up with producing TNF-alpha, TNF-alpha inducing mitochondria, which will include overproduction of reactive oxygen species. So all of these direct cytotoxic and free radical and inflammatory respond can lead to cell death, fibrosis of the tissue, and necrosis and apoptosis, as I said, cell death within the liver. When cells die, that is irreversible. Liver can produce new cells, but especially in alcoholic liver disease, fibrosis is completely irreversible, and cell death might be just greater than what the liver can do to mend the problem. So please remember that alcohol is not your friend. And in moderation, it's okay, but over drinking and especially binge drinking can lead to liver disease and it can lead to death. Now, this is something that you don't need to memorize. I just wanted to tell you that we only talked about this little part. Liver has an effect in all of our organ systems. Now, what is set in blue is believed to be good effect of small doses of alcohol, but especially large amounts, and especially in sick people or children, this particular red is very serious. So every major organ system will be affected, especially affecting the brain is very, very serious, as I said before. Fetal alcoholic syndrome is known when mom drinks alcohol and the placenta is not filtering out alcohol, and it affects the central nervous system of the baby and the development generally of the baby. So again, you don't need to memorize, but it's good to think about it, what alcohol is doing for our whole body. So in summary, I talked about alcohol metabolism. Please remember the two dehydrogenases. One is cytosolic, the other is mitochondrial. Please remember that this system produces NADH in the cytosol and in the mitochondria, and this increased ratio of NADH to NAD will halt normal metabolic processes, including glycolysis, gluconeogenesis. It will also halt fatty acid oxidation, and it will actually promote fatty acid synthesis, which can lead to fatty liver disease. It can also influence the detoxification system through the inability of the synthesis of glucuronic acid and directly inhibiting some CYPs. The alcohol liver toxicity, which I called irreversible effect, increased oxidative stress, increased inflammation, and cell death will will lead to fibrosis and liver cell damage and inability for the liver to mend itself. Thank you.